Good afternoon, Richard. Good evening, all of you. Good morning, good afternoon to those from different parts of the world.
Good evening, ma'am. Welcome you.
Very good evening.
We will start the session in another 3 to 4 minutes, ma'am.
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Richard. How are you doing? Are you mute? Can't hear you.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, I'm okay. Thanks, Shanti. How are you?
Very well, thank you, Richard.
Good. Excellent. Looking forward to an interesting session.
Right. Yeah, I'm also looking forward to it.
Good. And it's good to see you with a good attendance again.
Mm-hmm. Hope Rajesh is feeling better.
Yeah, he says he's improving, so let's hope so.
Yeah. How are you doing, Shilpa? Delhi treating you well?
Good evening. Just give me a moment and I'm connecting. I just stepped in.
Take your time. I thought you were already there, so I was asking about Delhi.
Yes. I was just connecting just a moment and I'll be in. Just 1 minute.
Take your time, Shilpa.
Good evening, all of you. I'm so sorry. I'm ready.
So,
Good evening, Professor Richard Rosa. It's so nice to see you.
Good evening. Good to be with you.
Professor Richard and Jayanti, ma'am, shall we start the session?
Yes, I think that's a good idea. Let's try and stick as much to time as we can.
Thank you. So good evening, everyone, and welcome you all to the IIRN webinar series 3.4 on the topic Sexuality Education Package for persons with intellectual disability. Today we have our speaker, Dr. Shilpa or Manogna, who will be presenting on this topic. Welcome you, ma'am. I also welcome Professor Richard Rose and Dr. Jayanti Narayan, ma'am, Dr. Himanshu Das, and all the senior members and mentors of IIRN and all the participants. Welcome you all. And without taking much time, I kindly request Professor Richard Rose to take over the session.
Okay, thank you very much and welcome to everybody. It's always very pleasing to see we get a good attendance at these sessions. So thank you all for making the time to come and hear what I'm sure is going to be a very stimulating discussion this afternoon. And may I particularly thank Dr. Shilpa Manogna for agreeing to present to us today. It's a great pleasure to have her here from the Department of School Education and Literacy in the Indian government. I'm sure she's a very busy lady, so particularly grateful that she's given up time to be with us today. We'll follow the usual format. We'll allow Shilpa to speak uninterrupted. So can you please make sure that you put your microphones on mute while she's speaking, just as a courtesy to her. And then when she's finished her presentation, there will be plenty of time for people to ask questions and join in discussion. At that point, if you could use the raised hand facility at the bottom of your screen, if you want to ask a question, then we can bring people in an orderly manner. So welcome again, and can I please now hand over to Dr. Manogna for her presentation. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for this opportunity. I would really like to give my thanks to the entire organizing committee. May I ask, sir, I think I missed out, how much time do I have, sir, for the presentation?
Okay, we would normally say about 40 minutes, and then
Okay,
that allows
40
time for discussion.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to share the screen, and while I'm sharing the screen, I would, start speaking. This is basically, I've been working with the National Institute for the Empowerment of Persons with Intellectual Disabilities, which is situated at Secunderabad. And this particular study was conducted and was taken up when I was working in that particular organization. The reason why this topic was specifically taken is that because we during our clinical experience, as well as while teaching the student trainee pre-service teachers, we have always seen that many a times we come across such kind, where parents as well as the teachers would give their or would raise the concern that as soon as the children are entering into the adolescence phase, they are going through a lot of tough times, situations, not knowing how to train or how to teach children about the important aspects related to sexuality education. Is this music coming from my thing? It has stopped. Okay. So basically, the project was mainly focusing on sexuality education, developing a sexuality education package wherein both the parents as well as the teachers can actually, teach children with intellectual disabilities or adolescents and adults with intellectual disabilities with the basic essential skills which are very important once the children are entering into the adolescent phase. So this project was funded under the Central Sector Research Scheme on Disability by the Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities under the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. I hope the slides are visible. I am just trying to navigate through. Jayanti ma'am, can I ask whether the slides are visible, ma'am?
Yes, yes, very clear. Yeah.
So here, we all know the importance of providing the right information and the right training. So we basically looked at sexuality from a lifespan approach, that where, right from birth till the death, there are quite a lot of changes which are going to happen in anybody's life. So be it a child with disability or without disability, this happens. Because of the condition of intellectual disability, most of the time we see that adolescents and adults with intellectual disability, due to their limited cognitive abilities, due to their limitations in communication, or due to their limitations to understand the subtle social signs and norms existing in the culture, they are more prone and vulnerable to abuse, exploitation, and all. So It's so we felt there is a need for sexuality education to be provided, which is age appropriate, which is culturally relevant also, and which is scientifically accurate, because the topic itself is so sensitive that different I mean, India being a diverse country, and within even a particular geographical region, a state, we see a lot of varied practices when it comes to uh, giving training to children about whether it is about menstrual hygiene management, or whether it is about genital hygiene, or any other related aspect. So we wanted it to be culturally relevant also, not grossly differing or not grossly differing from their religious and cultural backgrounds. Okay, so as I was stating during my introduction, that many teachers have expressed that they want to support children and adults with issues related to puberty, and also related to other sexuality related aspects, but they didn't know where to start, how to start, and how to go about with this particular journey, or how to guide the parents, like what they need to be doing. And with the parents group, what we have seen is that most of the time this particular responsibility of giving the training is always more or less on the primary caregiver, in most of the cases the mother, or if the child, if the ward is a boy, then to certain extent on the father. But there were a lot of hesitations and inhibitions or cultural taboos, uh, which has hindered in imparting the scientific information or scientific training to this. So we thought we would, at large, to address this issue, we would like to initiate a small step. That's how the entire project started. So because we are talking about giving the the education right from the school age group. So the main objectives that which we took were that we would first develop a an assessment checklist, because without assessing what is the current level, what is the awareness levels, or what are the skills which the child with intellectual disability or the person with intellectual disability has, then the teacher would not be able to go forward with what kind of goals should be selected, and what kind of plan should be made. So we have seen that the kind of checklists which were available were addressing certain issues and not. So we thought we will design an assessment checklist which will cater to two segments. That is, segment one deals with the adolescent age, 11, which is 11 years to 17 years. Um, I would just like to tell you that because I have made it into an entire screen presentation, I am literally not able to see any one of you. I am just going through the slides. So in case the slides are not visible, or my voice is not audible, or my mic has got muted, I would not be knowing. Somebody has to tell me that it is not visible, I am not audible. Mm. Just that, okay? And after designing the assessment checklist, then we have developed. Yes,
Shilpa, when you change slides, if you say you are changing slides, that will help us to know you are changing. Right now it is objectives, right?
Yes, ma'am. I am still at the objective side.
Yeah,
So
every time
after
you
the
change, just say you changed, so that we'll also know
Yes.
that, yeah, that will help. Sometimes
Yes.
when it is full screen and we are unable to see, sometimes you may be changing, it won't change for us, So
Okay. Sure, ma'am.
thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry for interruption.
No, ma'am. That helps. That helps. So first, developing an assessment checklist for two segments, one which will assess children in the adolescent age group below the age of 17 years. And the second segment would focus on assessing adults between the age group of 18 to 35 years. And then the next objective was to have, standard procedures which would which would be tried in teaching these aspects. So to develop an instructional manual for parents and caregivers and teachers. And the last one was to develop an pictorial instructional manual also, which the persons with intellectual disabilities can directly, flip through and then learn about about the various aspects. So I'm changing the slide. So whom did we partner with? We have partnered with parents of persons with intellectual disabilities, teachers, vocational instructors, and the supporting staff who are working in the special school setting, in the NGOs, as well as in the vocational skill training units and centers, and people with intellectual disabilities, other health professionals, and other school staff. Before we were introducing this particular this sexuality education was introduced in those centers. So we used a mixed method wherever we have used focus group interviews, we have used surveys, we have done the pre-post test intervention design was used, and then the sample was from persons with intellectual disability in the age range of 11 to 17 as group 1, and also 18 to 35 in the adult section, and we could only take 20 male and 20 female, and the sample was restricted to the cities of Hyderabad and Secunderabad from the rural from the rural area also. Like we went to the outskirts of the Hyderabad, which is called as Greater Hyderabad. So the sampling method, it was absolutely convenient sampling method because there was no randomization possible because of the delicacy, because of the delicate and sensitivity of the subject. Okay. And the consent of the parent, the consent of the person with intellectual disability, and more importantly, the school or the center was the major criteria, because we have seen that we had a lot of difficulty in getting the necessary approvals and permissions to conduct this particular study. And we partnered with 10 schools, 2 schools dropped midway. So what did we actually do in this particular project? First, we did in-depth, one-on-one interviews as well as focus group interviews also with parents, school staff, administrative staff, and the teachers. Siblings also were involved. But more or less, we did this particular detailed interviews, focus group interviews, to understand what are the major concerns, because that would help us to address the issue correctly. Then we did the individual assessments of each student whom we wanted to be part of our study. Then we have organized orientation programs for the entire school staff, for the adult skill training center staff, and then we developed the assessment checklist by following the standard research protocol. Like the items were pooled, then we have given it for validation, we tried it out, and all that particular process was followed. And once we had that information that yes, this is the skill set which the students were having, these are this is the awareness, this is the this is what the child is lacking, then based on the needs of the parents, the concerns which were raised by the parents, as well as the assessment data which was there, we matched that for selecting, for deciding what are the specific topics which we would be addressing. So these we call as the training needs. So the training needs were identified, and we prepared the training material, the resources which were again field tried in our lab school. Like for those who are not aware, at NIPET Secunderabad, we have a lab school which consists of around 120 students who regularly attend below the age group of 18. Then we have an adult vocational training center where from 18 and above children attend. There also we have about 80 to 100 students attending on a day-to-day basis. So each procedure, each material which was developed was first field tried, was first tested down on these children, and then we see, after only seeing that yes, this is working, this is not working, the procedures were finalized after having discussion with our own internal project advisory committees and the teachers and staff. And then we have given the interventions and training into the respective partnering schools which we have partnered. So we have planned one-to-one instructional sessions in the school, and as well as group instructional sessions where the topics do not need a one-on-one instruction. Okay, and then the parents were given how the training needs to be continued at the home. So home-based training guidance was also given, so that the training which is happening in the special school or in the vocational training unit continues to the home also. So that's what we have done, briefly. And then one-on-one counseling support was given, because parents would always come back, or the elder siblings and all would come back and say that, this is not working, this is how he is reacting or she is reacting, and we are kind of stuck in between. And so we would give them the guidance whenever we feel that the family needs the support or the teachers need the support. So this intervention has went on. I'm changing the slide. The interventions went on for a period of 6 months to 9 months, depending upon the child's requirement. So the assessment tool which we have developed had basically 5 domains. And we have established the reliability test, Cronbach alpha, and retest reliability and all, which has given us that this assessment checklist is highly reliable tool, and it can be used for imparting the training. It is assessing the same thing which about the sexuality education needs, and we can analyze the training needs of the children with intellectual disability. Okay. So I'm changing the slide. I'm right now in the slide of intervention. As I told, we had 40 people with intellectual disability, 20 male and 20 female in each segment, and we had children from severe intellectual disability to mild intellectual disability included in our sample for conducting the study. So 6 partnering schools and centers were located in the urban area, and 2 were located in the rural area. So each student was taught a minimum of 5 skills activities to 14 skills. So what kind of essential training needs, there were many training needs which were identified, but the essential skills which were taught based on the assessment data and the family concerns and prioritizing the needs were that, number one, we have developed material and trained on gender identification. Now, teaching children and adolescents and adults about the private body parts, about public places, about public and private behaviors, about genital hygiene, how it differs from male and female, what puberty changes, what are the changes which occur during puberty in male and female. Then, of course, safe touch, good touch or bad touch, safe and unsafe touch, management of public masturbation. This was one of the major challenging behavior which we had to address. Then menstrual hygiene management, protecting oneself from sexual abuse, that is anticipating that this is a risky environment, there could be a risk for potential abuse and all, and I need to avoid such kind of situations. That was covered in the protection from sexual abuse. Stranger danger, like how to identify strangers, what kind of danger would be there. Then saying no, not just for any kind of a physical contact or anything, but basically we focused on teaching them how to say no, even if it is no, I don't want to watch this movie, no, I don't want to come to you to a park, or no, I don't want to come to you to the shopping center. So saying no, so that children know, children would get accustomed to that it's okay to say no, and we need not have to say yes for everything, even if it is a near family member who is requesting us to do something or to accompany somewhere. Then relationships, because they need to understand the boundaries which every relationship would have. Then basics about what is marriage, what is expected, because many a times during our one-to-one interactions, assessments and all, it was noticed that children had a very, very superficial or a very primitive level of knowledge about marriage. They would always associate it with good food, delicious food, good nice clothes, nice jewelry and all, but not the complicated responsibilities and structure of the marriage. So because we were also dealing with the adult population, and with the right to, with the UNCRPD and the RPWD Act giving them the right to have a family life, many people with intellectual disabilities, we had married couples also. So about marriage, about contraception, fertilization, and self-examination. Self-examination, like how do I do a breast examination, or how do I do a testicle examination? How do I know that there is something wrong and I need to go to a doctor? Just the basics, nothing in depth or in detail. We just wanted to orient both the person with intellectual disability as well as the parent and teacher, that teaching about menstrual hygiene or a good touch, bad touch, or private parts is not enough. There is much more to sexuality education, certain topics which we never try to address, and only when it manifests into something else, then we see it as a very big behavioral issue or a behavioral challenge. So before that happens, let us prepare our children or our young adults with intellectual disability. Yes, this is going to happen with my body. This is what happens if I get into marriage, or if I get into an intimate relationship. What is this particular process? What would be consent, and all these things were tried to be covered in this particular essential training needs, which were identified and trained upon. Changing this line, so the responsibility was definitely the project team, because that was the project team was developing the materials, doing the assessments, giving the counseling sessions, guiding the teachers, guiding the parents, because getting them involved into the project itself was the major issue. Many number of good schools, reputed schools, have denied to to partner with us. NIPID being a government organization, well established, known in the twin cities of Hyderabad and Secunderabad, but still we did face on getting the approvals. Okay, and so the project team would train, and then the responsibility moves to the teachers for the classroom teaching, vocational instructors and all. And then it would also, the responsibility was also on the parents and older siblings for the home teaching, for the home training. So this was very clearly told in all the orientation and training sessions, which we were continuously organizing for the parents of the children who were part of this particular program. Then for the whole school parent program, training program also, we have given this particular trainings, but certain parents opted out of this particular sexuality education project mode teaching, which was being introduced in the respective schools. So this responsibility lied between these three major stakeholders. I'm going to the next slide. So during the project phase, we have trained around 480 parents, 160 teachers, and more specifically, out of 480, only 40 parents, were ready to continue with us for this entire journey of our project, and the 20 teachers. Okay, and we have, although we have assessed 125 students with intellectual disabilities on this. But after the assessment, when we started programming and all, the school denied sometimes, or the parents denied the permission sometimes. So we had only 40 children, 40 people, 20 girls and boys who were given the training part. So these are just some pictures. I would like to skip through the things. Okay, see, this is just to tell that every child was not taught the same skill, but yes, we did see that children lagged in certain skills, and then we were told, like, there were certain children who needed that how to name the about their private body parts, how to clean their genitals, and we have seen quite a good amount of improvement. Significant improvement was seen when we were comparing their pre-test and post-test results. So protecting from sexual abuse, good touch and bad touch. So after our project, these were the major project deliverables. One, we had come out with the sexuality education needs assessment checklist. Number two, we have come out with the sexuality education instructional manual or guide for parents, teachers, and caregivers. And the last one is a pictorial guide for persons with intellectual disabilities. The reason why we have gone for a pictorial guide is that we wanted to reinforce the learning which was happening in the classroom and home, and we also wanted to respect the privacy of the adult or the adolescent with intellectual disability to understand the topic or to go through the topic without continuously being monitored for all through the time. Okay, so that is the reason we had this particular thing. And also this pictorial guide has really helped the elder siblings to bond with their younger siblings, or vice versa, in just going through this particular pictorial book and then explaining, developing a conversation with their brother, with their sibling, and then trying to explain contextually why these skills are important. Along with this, we had a lot of activities, material, activity cards, coloring books, then picture flashcards. Then we also had a lot of materials where the children would exchange and discuss with the help of the picture cards. So what were the impact and the benefits? Number one, it did create awareness among parents, teachers, and other stakeholders. They did realize that yes, all these topics are important to be discussed well in advance, rather than waiting until the a certain behavior manifests into a problem behavior, a challenging behavior, or until there is no need for training about menstrual hygiene until the child has her first cycle. No, the training should start well before. In the same way, when it comes to boys also, the training has to start well before you observe that the child is exhibiting public masturbation or public undressing, or the child has a physiological need, or the child is having night emissions, the young adult is having a night emissions. Then how should he handle? What are the steps? How should he clean himself? How should he clean, and how should he maintain privacy? All these things have to be talked well in advance, so that the child knows the right way of doing certain things. Okay, so that was the thing. So the knowledge improvement has happened, the change of attitude and beliefs, that if we introduce sexuality education, children may develop typical behaviors which are not currently seen, or young adults may show much more challenging behaviors, because we are teaching them these concepts which they are not aware of. All such kind of beliefs, myths were reduced, they came down considerably, and students were empowered. Like they know that, yes, this is the situation which teacher taught us in the classroom. This could be a potential danger situation. Or somebody was touching me and I was not comfortable. I said no. Or no, I don't want to go. So the students were empowered with the right knowledge and skill set. And the training activities were simultaneously being given at home as well as school. So there was a good synergy between the teacher and the parent. So we saw that by the midway, we saw that there was quite a good, cooperation which the parents and teachers had than what they had before. So that was also one of the big change that we have seen, and students started expressing. Of course, we have also seen that there were certain students who would react in a particular sarcastic manner, or would like to create, have reacted in a different manner also. But altogether, parents, teachers, and the research team were able to manage and teach the targeted skills to the students. So I've changed the slide. The limitations and the issues. I'm just winding up. I think another 2 slides or so, we would wind up, and I would take the questions and your feedback about that. So the major limitation, I would still say that, okay, it was dropping of the sample, dropping of the, partnering schools midway. So that has really bothered us a lot. We didn't get the approvals and all. The topic being considered as a taboo, gathering the parents itself for the initial orientation and awareness programs itself was also very difficult. If it was a parent meeting on any other topic, the turnout would be more. But if the moment we say we are going to specifically discuss about, sexuality education, about sexuality related issues, about masturbation, about hygiene, or about genital hygiene and all, then the turnout would, come down and all. So those apprehensions and hesitations. Then the attitude of the parents that my young adult child is still a child, and there is no need of all this training. Okay, so I don't need, he is not having, so he does not need it, or she is not having this problem, so she does not need it. Or they would also see the inappropriate behaviors as not so concerning thing, because they're able to bear with this particular thing. So telling them that, see, now you are still considering this as an okay behavior, although it is an inappropriate behavior, but in future you might, have to face the same thing would manifest into something bigger, and then managing the behavior would become very difficult. That was also very difficult aspect. Even the school heads would say, no, we don't want any sexuality education. We are okay with just imparting the regular functional education, then sports and games, and we all have co-curricular activities are being run and all. So we don't need. And another biggest challenge was the myths and misconceptions, especially which were related to, because hygiene practices were very different in many cultures. Like certain culture community people had a different set of hygiene practices. Certain communities would go with certain other practices, but telling them that this could be a better way, or getting away from dealing with those myths and misconceptions was a big challenge. I wouldn't say we were successful in, taking those misconceptions away totally. But yes, to a certain extent, our team was able to make some difference. So post the project thing, what work we have done was that we continued with our workshops. We have organized CRE programs, so that all the special educators would know that this is important, and this should be part of the regular timetable in the special school. It should not be that, okay, parents would take care in the home and then it should not be taught in the school. So we conducted orientation programs in the schools. Then we conducted online CRE programs. We conducted offline CRE programs. We implemented it in 20 more schools in Kerala, in very rural schools of Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, districts of Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Orissa, West Bengal, and also in some parts of Jammu and Kashmir. So we were not able to reach to all the states, but yes, we were able to reach to certain states. And a lot of training programs were organized for the pre-service teacher trainees also, because I felt that there was a need that even the pre-service teachers should be ready, not hesitating, inhibiting, like, okay, you have an IEP child, you are doing an IEP, take this topic, it needs to be there as part of your regular IEP. Okay, you are going for a group teaching, practical practice teaching, take one of the lessons which is important, teach in the classroom as a regular, as per the regular schedule, and incorporate this into your teaching. So that's how we try to make some difference in the pre-service teachers also, to change their attitude towards talking about this subject. Okay. So future work, I do not know how well I'll be able to take up this future work still. So I'm not touching much on this particular aspect as of now. I think that's all from my side. I hope I am well within the time.
Yes, thank you very much, Shilpa. A very clear presentation dealing with some very important topics, very well expressed, and an interesting piece of research. So thank you very much. I'm going to ask for questions. If people would like to raise their hands, I see we've already got a couple raised. I'll bring them in a second. Could I just begin, though, by asking you, you mentioned that there was some dropping off of your sample along the way. Did people give you any reason why they were dropping out?
Yes, the dropping out of the sample, the parents said that no, we don't want our child to be exposed to about teaching about these aspects, because especially we had a lot of droppage in the adolescent age group only, when we were telling that, okay, you will see that your body would react sometimes. You will see when you get up in the night that your pants are wet or your underwears are wet, and you must have secreted. This is normal. This is nothing wrong. You haven't. Only thing is that you have to go and clean. You have to change your bed sheet. You have to, or you, when you feel like having, you have to maintain privacy. All these things the parents didn't like when we said, because we were very open to tell to the parents that we are going to talk about these issues. So only if you are in and would like to continue, then. So initially they would say yes, but midway, maybe after 4-5 sessions, they would drop, because many parents had the issue of masturbation. They would say that the child would masturbate and they didn't like about masturbation, and the myth that masturbation is wrong, it is sin. That's the belief in certain communities, and to break that was difficult. When we would say it is a physiological urge, it is need, science doesn't say that it is a sin and all kind of a thing, parents didn't like it, so they dropped.
Right, thank you very much. I see we have a couple of hands up at the moment. Selvi, did you have a question you wanted to come in with, please? Is Selvi there somewhere? Okay, well, in that case, Sushma, your hand is up as well. Sushma, do you have a question? Oh, Sushma's disappeared from the list of questions. Okay, thank you, Sushma. Does anybody else have a question, please? We've got plenty of time. So yes, right, we've got another one now. Dr. Anupuma, please.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Richard. Shilpa ma'am, it's a really a worthy project you did. So I just want to know, when we are explaining about sexuality to the normal children itself, they feel somewhat excitement we could see in them to know something that is knowing about sex and everything. When it is coming to the differently abled children, particularly ID children,
Mm.
apart from the hesitation from the parents and the schools, gradually you might have faced many challenges while doing all these things. I just want to know, what is the behavioral changes, not only in the positive manner, but negative? That means while knowing about all these things, what is the behavior that peculiarly you have observed during this project?
I don't know if I would call it as peculiar or not, but we would see that, children would giggle when, we had small group instructions, right, in the school, and we wanted as part of the regular classroom teaching. So the moment we are talking about private parts, or the moment we are talking about public behaviors and private behaviors, you can't change your clothes in front of everybody, but you cannot do this in front of everybody and all. When we would explain it using charts, pictures, and PowerPoint presentations and all, they would start giggling. They would start, oh, what teacher is teaching today to us? And then they would also ask, they would also say that, like, some of the adults, they were aware of certain concepts, so they would poke the other children sitting beside them that this is this and all. So that was their kind. But I really recall an experience that we did have a young adult who was placed for a job placement in a sales service unit, and then came down at around 4 o'clock, all the way searching and all, and then came straight away, walked into my room and asked, I want to tell you something and I'm not happy about it. Because he was a project child, I could immediately remember him, and then I said, yes, please come sit and talk. What do you want to share? No, my colleagues in the office are mishandling me. They would corner me. They wouldn't touch my private part, but they would touch me on my stomach, they would touch me on my chest, and they would say, you want to go and tell to the boss, go and tell. But now, is it bad behavior or not? I do not know, but I am not liking it. What shall I do? So, the child was able to come and express his concern, and immediately we had our, teachers, going in and stepping in and then providing. But yes, if the young adult was able to discriminate this after, the training, then I think we have reached our goal of sensitizing them and making them aware of what. And I did ask the child, then you were supposed to say no, you were supposed to first go and report this issue to your immediate supervisor. Why did you come down to me instead of immediately reporting to this thing? This is it. No, I reported, but my supervisor did not listen, so I followed your line of communication. I reported, they did not listen, they did not understand, so I am telling to you now. So these are the kind of behavioral changes we have seen. Okay, so I would say things worked to a certain extent. Yes, in certain children, we have not seen the same levels of improvements which we wanted.
Thank
It
you,
might also be varying between the levels of ID also, no?
Yes, between the levels, like we had, we had a young female with intellectual disability, with moderate intellectual disability. No matter how much we would say that strangers, dangers, these are the risky situations and all, she would purposely end up into those situations and would exhibit the kind of behavior. So we did have to go back to our behavior analyst and psychologist for chalking out a detailed behavior modification plan for addressing that issue. That did not help us. So in some children it helped us, and in some children it did not help. The issues remained more or less at the same level.
Thank you for dealing with that, Shilpa. We have a question in the chat box from Shivkesh Singh. Shivkesh, are you there? Would you like to ask your question, please?
Okay.
Oh, well, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, I've seen this. I've read this question, Shivkesh. If you have typed it elaborately, so I'm just taking the question: how do we handle a child with severe ID in rural? Because still no awareness about sex education and disability. It's not about a rural area or an urban area. Believe me, even in an urban area, sometimes you do not see the same levels of awareness and sensitivity about this. But what happens with children with severe disability is that because of their limited communication, it becomes difficult to teach the child, and more or less we have to rely on non-verbal communication or just one word communications, which may not happen, and they take a considerably or relatively a little longer time to understand the basic concept. We did have the reason why I'm saying about severe, we did have a child with severe intellectual disability associated with cerebral palsy, who was, I mean, it's very sad to share, but who was abused in a hospital by the caretaker, by the male nurse. She was admitted for some treatment, but a very young adolescent girl, and she wasn't in a position to say what, but she was able to point out to her body parts wherever the male nurse has touched and fondled, and then that is how we came to know that this has happened. So if we do not tell them what is what, how do we expect them to express when they are in trouble or when they have been mistreated or mishandled? So we need to, we also had a female, young female, who was, it has really prevented the chances of abuse. The child was left alone in the home, considering that the mother would return just within 10 minutes. But there was a known person entering into the home. The child was said, no, we did teach them in training. If you are not comfortable and you do not know, just shout that I don't want you here. Somebody else, somebody who is nearby would come and see what is happening. So she was able to do that particular thing, that okay, just shout that I need help, that's all, if the child was vocal. So this young female was vocal, so she shouted, I don't want you to come home, okay, to enter into the home. So known people only, the research reveals, and many a times we see that the abuser is not an unknown person, but is, in most of the cases, is a known person. So preparing them well in advance helps.
We have a question, I believe, from Sakshi Kumari. Sakshi, are you there? No, Sakshi's put her hand down. Okay. Sarada, are you there, please?
Yeah.
Thank you. Do ask your question. Hello, Sarada. We can't hear you at the moment.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity. It was wonderful listening to Dr. Shilpa. And it is not a question. I just wanted to share an experience of mine where we had to handle a boy of 14 years. Yes, he was into the habit of getting into this habit of masturbation. And the film, the red panda was a coin word. That was the coin word that we had to give him, where he was where he was what to say, alert, where he was given an alert to choose his privacy whenever he had to go into that habit, and just spelling out the word made him. He was educated that at spelling or hearing to that word, he has to move to his privacy. So privacy should be, yes, you have talked enough about it, and privacy can be again. Taught to the children using visual prompts or verbal prompts, and this was the one we had to do with that boy. And again, I have one other question here. I have one question here, that is, do boys feel have the sensory issues in having the ejaculation or the emissions? When there is when they wet their pants or something, no? Do they have, how do they face this when they have some sensory issues? Have you ever handled children with sensory issues with this emission and everything? And how was it all to happen? And am I clear?
I, I wouldn't say I have had, during my sample or during my clinical experience and all, a person with sensory issues and ejaculation. Yes, but almost typically every adolescent boy and every, young adults who were there had, night emissions and ejaculations and all. But the point is that it is a physiological thing. First of all, the parents which we were dealing with had this idea that no, this is not good. The mother had the thing that I have to spend more time in cleaning. Okay, I have to change the bed sheets. I have to wash these particular things. I have to do this, and this child is doing, intentionally and all. So we have to basically orient the parents about that. What physiological process happens because of which the child experiences emissions, night emissions, and then what skills need to be taught. The child should be taught how to go, how to clean his hands, how to change the bed sheets, how to maintain the privacy. If he has the urge to masturbate also, it's okay if he goes to his restroom or a washroom, closes the door and relieves himself. Okay, that is fine. The parent need not have to knock the door and say, oh, again you have closed the door, again you have gone, this is a very bad thing, you are not supposed to do this and all. So that is how I am. So I do not know. I have not handled that, so I don't think I am in a position to answer your concern. But this is something closer to it what I have dealt with.
May I
Okay,
ask a
thank
question?
Professor Janti Narayan has her hand up. You there, Janti?
Okay, let Sakshi have her question. Then
Okay.
Ma'am, if a teenager is unaware of the physical changes in his body, but somehow through social media, TVs and all screens, he came to come across. So he do have half knowledge about that, and he's misguiding himself. What should we do as a parent?
Give them the right information. Okay, you know that the child is having the not the correct information. That's what I was telling, that it is very necessary that we give the correct scientific right information to the child. Most of the time what happens is that as parents we try to hide the details. Okay, we try to hide. We have seen that parents don't even want to take the name of the private body part also. Now if the child does not even know the name of the private part, then how will he say that, he or she will say that he has a pain? See, the child, if the child, young female, is going through vaginal pain, then how will she tell that I have a pain? Okay, the child should be aware of the name of the part also, no, or at least to point and gesture. So let us give them those right information. What is so as a parent, yes, you are at the discretion of deciding to what extent you want to tell, but definitely there is, the moment we do not give the right information, the children are going to explore it through other sources, and then we would not have the control. Once learned, the unlearning takes a lot of time. Okay, so it is better that we teach them, let them learn the right thing by presenting them the right information. So why should they learn incorrect information or inappropriate information in the first place, and then we spend a lot of time on making them to unlearn that and then reteaching them the right thing? So let us teach the right thing right from the beginning. Say the child is already 9 years old, start introducing the sexuality education concepts and say that, okay, you are going to see this change in your body. If not now, maybe in the next few months. Every regular interval, start talking about this. Okay, and then make it that, yes, this is a regular development in the body. As my nails grow, as my hair grow, as my height grows, there are other parts of the body which would also be growing. Okay, so that is what we'll have to start off with. I don't know if I have answered you, but
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I'll go back then to Janti. You wanted to make a point, I think, just now.
I just want to congratulate Shilpa for taking up such a delicate topic, where it is very sad to see that 480 dropped to a 40 and 100 parents, and 160 dropped to a 20. That shows that, leave alone our youngsters with intellectual disability, the families and the teaching community is not ready to talk about it. And this is the major crux of the problem I'm noticing. It's such a wonderful presentation, and she has taken us through very, very beautifully with the data backup and everything on how they worked, and the content of it is fantastic. All the important areas you have very, very beautifully covered. Such a wonderful material is ready and available, but look at the reluctance of the users. Leave our youngsters with intellectual disability, they need to be taught, so the medium is the parent and the teacher, and they are not ready. For 480 dropping to 40, my God, look at that. So when our community is not yet ready, how are we going to get this across? Rightly said by Shilpa, wrong learning should not happen first. Looking at the television that Sakshi was telling, and then picking up something from it, and then we say, no, this is the right way. Why don't we let our boys and girls understand it right in the beginning? The second thing also, I go with Shilpa in endorsing that many a time the abusers are known people and not really strangers. And we have had occasions, I don't want to name, but Shilpa may remember, there were girls whom the neighborhood people, a person has been regular, and the girl was starting to enjoy the relationship, not understanding consequences of it. That itself is something very sad. And later with pregnancy and everything, things had to be worked out in reverse. This is also a fear that we have, not only good touch and bad touch. Sometimes the culprits tend to give a good touch, which is a bad touch, and the girls start to enjoy that. I'm sure you're getting what I'm trying to say. So then that is totally leading to a very, very wrong direction. And therefore, we have to take efforts to see that the material Shilpa and her team have developed, our teachers and parents don't hesitate to get the children know about it. These numbers have bothered me very much, Shilpa. You started with a 480 and you have dropped down to this. We have to find a way of reaching it and telling the parents this is not a taboo. These children have to know this, so that we don't end up in a situation where you regret. That should not happen. So in addition to congratulating Shilpa and her team for the wonderful work, and Shilpa for the beautiful, strong, nice, emphatic presentation, I want you all here to please take the message with you to make sure that her manual is used and people don't hesitate to learn from it and get it across to our boys and girls. Prevention is always better than cure. I just want to pass on this message that we give the right information right in the beginning. Thank you, Richard, for the opportunity to talk, and great, Shilpa. PGS
Thank you. Thank you, Stan. I see we have 2 hands raised. I think we'll take 2 more questions or comments, and then we will finish. So, Aparna Joshi, are you there somewhere with a question or a comment, please?
Yeah, so basically they have typed it in the chat box. Where can we
Yes.
access the manual? Yeah, so
Um,
all the 3.
Ma'am, you're muted. I cannot hear you.
Your voice is not audible, ma'am.
Ma'am, you're
Yes, sorry,
muted.
sorry, sorry.
You
I did give
you
you a hand.
accidentally muted. You
Yes.
accidentally muted.
No, it happens with me. That's the reason in between also I said if I get muted, please tell me because I don't notice once I
Sure.
start. So yes, thank you for that thing. The all the manuals are uploaded into the NIPED website, so you can browse through them. And the hard copies are not yet available because we are still in the process of scaling up and having a mass production of the thing. The reason why the production of the books was not taken up immediately is also like we had a lot of ups and downs to the project, and then the procedures which we tried out with this 40 children and the methods may not be really helpful for some other children elsewhere. So we really wanted to get feedbacks from the rest of the 20 schools which started, and wanted to know that did not work, what worked, and if we can make certain modifications and then come out with based on that, because this procedures which we developed and all is totally based on our experience of only the 40 children with which we had, which were our project based children. Okay, so that is one more reason, and we have written in the book also that these are not the only methods. Please try some other methods and tell us what is working so that we can compile those techniques, little tips, and what worked with your child, so that every parent, every teacher would know, yes, we can also try this. So this attempt is only to start off with, okay, now you have an assessment checklist, use it, and then identify what the child is not aware of, then start teaching from that particular point, okay, both for parent as well as the teacher, and then slowly develop. At least you have a base to start the training off, so you can take off, and then you yourself in the process will realize what kind of minor modifications can be made or what other new things can be tried out depending on the child.
Sure. No, and it's a very seminal and a very topical issue which I have faced because I'm also a sibling to a intellectually disabled sister, my elder sister, and my son is neurodivergent. So I really understand the importance of what you're doing, and I really appreciate you for doing it. And I would really try to access the resources that you've shared and use them now more so with my son because he's just turning 14. We although me and my husband, we are talking to him about the concept of privacy and keeping judgment away and not like making him feel guilty for what's happening or attaching any value to the behavior as good or bad. We are trying to, and also trying to give him the vocabulary, the right vocabulary, not
Right
slangs
vocabulary.
and
Very
not
true.
like
That is very important.
something which is universally understood, rather than using pee pee poo poo kind of words, because I mean, of course, hopefully kids will outlive us and then they should be able to communicate clearly. That's very important. So I am really, really thankful to you, ma'am. And thank you, Richard. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much, Aparna. Sarada Krishnamurti, I see your hands up again. Did you want to come back with something?
I think she didn't switch off.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
In
Sorry,
that
sorry.
case, no,
Sorry,
that's
I didn't lower my hand.
quite okay. I know how we all struggle with the technology. So all that remains for me to do is obviously to thank Shilpa for an excellent presentation. I think he's contributed very well to this seminar series, and we're very grateful for the time you've given both for preparing the presentation and joining us here today. I am going to make one observation, which some of you have heard me make many times before. I do hope that this research finds its way into an academic journal somewhere so that it's shared more widely. So please do try and get it written up. I think it's really important. There's such a lack of good research-based literature in this area, and more people who aren't here today could benefit greatly from hearing this. So we've had excellent attendance again today. I'm really pleased that so many of you have made the effort to come. Do tell your colleagues about these seminars. They happen regularly, and Rajesh does a wonderful job of keeping people informed. So bring others along, and the more we have, the better we can spread the word about inclusion here in India. So with that, I'm just going to say thank you very much to all of you for attending, and I look forward to seeing you all at the next session. So thank you all very much, and goodbye.
Thank you so much for the IIRN team, and especially to Professor Richard Rose and my teacher Jayanti Narayan ma'am also, and all the other participants for patiently connecting and listening. I think I would love to continue the work, and if any one of you would like to further get in touch, please do write to me, and I will definitely respond to you and for knowing more about this particular thing. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you, Professor Richard. It's time for vote of thanks, April. So it's my privilege to thank on behalf of IIRN. I would like to thank Dr. Shilpa for coming up with a wonderful topic, and which is a much needed one also. And also the interesting part is that instead of just stopping with that output, you came up with that guide also, which is very much useful for people who have joined, and for others also. And thank you so much for this. And I extend my thank you to Professor Richard for moderating the session, and Dr. Jayanti Narayan ma'am for sharing your inputs also, and Himanshu sir for member secretary of IIRN for joining us. And I thank all the coordinators, Dr. Rajesh Ramachandran sir. So though he is not feeling well, he made sure everything is happening on time and make sure that the webinar goes well without any flaws. So thank you so much sir for that. And other coordinators, Dr. Anamika, Dr. Malikarjuna, and Dr. Nikita. Thank you so much. And I express my heartfelt gratitude to SARS for giving enough advertisement for participants to join in. And also Dr. Jamani Gandan, who is working still for the webinar. And last but not least, I thank all the participants for making the session more interactive and a successful one. Once again, thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.